I should have known better. It was one of those nights when nothing seems to matter. I was sitting at a bar, sipping wine, my blue nails catching the lights as I fiddled with my glass. I wasn't looking for anyone, just a quiet night to myself. But then he walked in. Luca, tall, dressed in a sharp suit, and his eyes dark, intense, like they could see right through me. When our eyes met, everything else in the room seemed to fade away. He smiled, and I felt something stir inside of me, something I couldn't explain. He came over, sat beside me. His voice was smooth, calming, like he had all the time in the world. We talked for hours and couldn't remember the last time that I felt so connected to someone. By the end of the night, I was hooked. Then, 2 weeks later, things had changed. My nails were still blue, but now they were chipped at the edges. I couldn't stop thinking about him. There was something about him, something I couldn't shake. I wasn't sure if it was his charm or the danger that followed him. That night, around midnight, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find 3 men. They didn't say a word, just pushed their way in. One of them grabbed my wrist. "Where's Luca?" he demanded. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. My heart was racing. They didn't believe me. They pulled me into the living room. My blue nails stood out against the darkness of the apartment, and I couldn't stop looking at them, thinking about how stupid I was to get involved in all of this. And then I heard it, the screeching of a car outside. Luca. The door flew open. Luca stood there, calm, but his eyes were different, cold. He didn't even look at me. He just stepped inside, his eyes locking on the man. Without saying a word, he moved fast. The gun in one of the men's hand was suddenly on the floor, and the man was knocked out cold. The others hesitated, but Luca didn't give them a chance. They ran, leaving only the sound of their footsteps echoing in the hallway. I stood frozen, my chest tight. Luca didn't look at me right away. He just wiped his hands on his pants, like nothing had happened. Then he turned to me. "You should have stayed out of it," he said, his voice low. I wanted to tell him I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't want to be a part of his world, but I already was. And as much as I knew it was dangerous, I couldn't walk away. I looked at my blue nails, still bright against the darkness of the room. They seemed so small, so silly compared to everything that had just happened. But in that moment, I knew there was no going back. "I'm not leaving you," I whispered. Luca just nodded, a small, almost sad smile on his face. And that was it, the start of something I didn't know how to stop. What would you have done in my place? Would you have continued with a relationship with Luca, or would you have walked away?